Hello and welcome to this week's Golf Betting Show. It's Steve Bamford here from Golf Betting System. I take it that you are well. As ever, I'll start the show by saying if you want to subscribe, just click on the button under the screen if you're watching it in YouTube. Okay, two decent events this week. We have the start of the Fedex Cup playoffs over in New Jersey, the Barclays tournament, which is always a very intrinsic, very interesting tournament to unpick. And on the European tour, we have the Czech Masters, which is played at the Albatross Golf Club just outside of Prague. So a decent standard on the European tour as well. I'll quickly run you through Paul's commentary on the D&D Real Czech Masters for you. Being played at the Albatross Golf Resort just outside of Prague. It's a 7,516 yard par 72 and features bent grass greens. It's a booming course. You might remember Jamie Donaldson effectively assured his place on the Ryder Cup team here with a cracking victory at 14 under. And the number that really does jump out at you is 80.6% in terms of his greens in regulation that week, which was second. And most of the guys that were around him were all in the top echelons of the greens in regulation stats. Tommy Fleetwood, Bradley Dredge, Soren Kjeldsen and Eddie Pepperell. So it really is a green in regulation ball strikers tournament. This week's published Czech Masters predictor model is available. Paul has obviously just published this. As ever, golf betting tips for all of our statistics, which are free. The predictor models are free. Our betting previews are free of charge. I'll take you through Paul's published model, and I always say week in, week out, you can come to Golf Betting System and pull together your own tailor-made model, of course, using all the statistics available. 10, Pedro Oriol, 125 to 1 at Sky Bet. 9, Matthew Fitzpatrick, 28 to 1 with Betfred. 8, Morten Orum Madsen, 80 to 1 with Betfred. 7, James Morrison, 22 to 1 with Betfred. 6, Terry Pilkderis, 80 to 1 with Betfred. I was having a bit of banter with Paul last week about the way that I pronounce Terry. 5 is Eddie Pepperell, 18 to 1 with Paddy Power. 4, Paul Peterson, 80 to 1 with Sky Bet. 3 is Root Kako, 66 to 1 with Betway. 2, Victor Dubuisson, 14 to 1 with Sky Bet. And number 1 is Bradley Dredge, 28 to 1 with Stan James. So that's Dredge, Dubuisson, Kako, Peterson and Eddie Pepperell. If you're looking for a bit of value further down, Marcel Schneider is 200 to 1 at 12. Jamie McCleary is 150 to 1 at position 15. Merrick Brebner, who did well here last year, 125 to 1 with Betfred at number 16. You've also got Victor Rui, Ben Evans and also the big hitting Belgian Thomas Peters at 90 to 1, and Scott Henry, who came very, very close to winning in Madeira a few weeks ago, is available at 150 to 1. So moving through to Paul's tips this week, he's going for the following: Victor Dubuisson, 2 points each way at 14 to 1 with Sky Bet. Ball striker, playing decent golf at the moment, and played well to get a nice top 30 finish at Whistling Straits a few weeks ago. The drop down in quality this week is absolutely, it's Everest-like, the drop. And Dubuisson, 2 points each way at 14 to 1 with Sky Bet. Paul thinks he could be capturing his second European Tour triumph this week over in the Czech Republic. Interestingly as well, Dubuisson, when he won in Turkey a couple of years ago, managed to beat Jamie Donaldson around that Turkish course. So that course link is quite strong. Another player that's playing really well at the moment, and it was noticeable last year that guys that did well in Denmark covered that or carried that through to the Czech Republic. Bradley Dredge at 1.5 points each way at 28 to 1 with Coral for Bradley Dredge, the Welshman who played brilliantly last week in Denmark. And he still needs a nice finish on the European Tour to guarantee his playing privileges for next season. Bradley Dredge, who obviously finished in second position here last year as well. And then the guy that actually beat Scott Henry, who I mentioned a while ago, in Madeira Islands. He can hit it a country mile, a very talented young Finnish guy. Roop Kakko, a point each way at 66 to 1 for Kakko. He is third this week in the predictor model, as you know. So Paul's gone for the top three in the predictor model. And then Tom Lewis, a talented Englishman, as we know, who can play very well on wide past 72s that are exposed and low scoring. Tom Lewis, half a point each way, 125 to 1 with Sky Bet. So that's Lewis, Kakko, Bradley Dredge, Victor De Vries on. The full preview available at Golf Betting System. Just type Golf Betting System or Golf Betting Tips into the search engine of your choice. Okay, 120 of the top 125 in the Fedex Cup standings start the playoffs this week. McIlroy and Sergio Garcia are both resting. Louis Oosthuizen has hurt his back again, which is a real concern for Oosthuizen. He would have had a good shot around here, potentially. And then you've got Francesco Molinari, who's having his second child, and Retief Goosen, who's got issues at home, who aren't playing this week and won't make it into the top 100 for the Deutsche Bank at TPC Boston next week. I'll take you through this week's predictor model. It's interesting with both Paddy Power and Stan James both going 6 places each way, and we've only got 120 in the field this week, so there's some value to be had. Henrik Stenson's at 10, 28 to 1 with Coral. 9 is Brandt Snedeker, 40 to 1 with Sky Bet. 8 is Zach Johnson, 55 to 1 with Sky Bet. 7, Dustin Johnson, 12 to 1 with Betway. 6 is Jordan Spieth, 6 to 1 with 888 Sport. 5 is Bubba Watson, 25 to 1 with Sky Bet. 4 is Matt Kuchar, 35 to 1 with Bet365. 3, Justin Rose, 12 to 1 with Betfred. 2, Jason Day, 10 to 1 with Paddy Power. And number 1 is Jim Furyk, 40 to 1 with Sky Bet. So Furyk, Day, Rose, Kuchar and Bubba Watson. Now I'm following the strategy of Paul to a level this week. I'm tipping up 2 of the top 5 in the predictor model this week. I'll just run you through some bigger prices before I move on. Jason Bone is in position 11. He's having an exceptional week. He's done well in the New Jersey, New York area in the past. 150 to 1 with Bet365. You've then got Koepka and Casey, who have been tipped up elsewhere. Fowler's at 14. Patrick Reed's done well at the Barclays in the past. Wilcox keeps banging on the door, Wilcox, but this does seem a level above. He's 110 to 1. And then you've got Jerry Kelly, William McGirt, both at 200s. Brendan Steele's playing some great golf at the moment, 125 to 1. And Rory Sabatini, 200 to 1. They're the bigger prices. Now, for me, it's an interesting tournament, as I said. The Barclays, for me, you're looking for players that haven't won this side of Augusta. I think you're looking for players that have won in upstate America. There's a definitive link also with Doral, and there's a big link in terms of their FedEx Cup positions. Anyone inside the top 8 or 9, I'm likely to stay away from. This looks like it's a week where it's a classy winner, and a winner that, you know, at the end of the day, the FedEx Cup now has gone from 500 points a winner to 2,000 points, and that naturally gets you in the top 5. That top 5 position is absolutely vital when it comes to Eastlake, because if you're in the top 5 or win that week, you've got control of your own destiny. You will be the FedEx Cup champion. We scored last year here with Hunter Mahan, who was 50 to 1. And Mahan, one of these ball strikers that can play very, very well on bent grass and bent Poa greens. Poa New is definitely in the mix on the green surfaces this week. And as we know, a lot of players do not putt extremely well on bent Poa. Now, Plainfield, the Barclays does move from course to course, and Plainfield is the course that is hosting the tournament this week. It was played here, or the Barclays was held here in 2011, and 19 under won the golf tournament, Dustin Johnson. Now, the course that week was pretty much swamped with rain, both prior to the event and during the event. It was only 54 holes. They had a hurricane coming over or coming into the area that weekend. They had to shut up shop early doors. It was as damp as you like that week, and that's why the scoring was so low. Now, reading interviews from a lot of the players, they were saying that if the course had been firm and fast, it would be a totally different proposition altogether. So, since 2011, the course has been lengthened by around 50, 60 yards. They've taken away the easier of the 3 par 5s. It paid as a par 71 back then. They've taken away the easier of the par 5s and made it into a 495-yard par 4. So, with very, very long rough promised, 3.5 inches minimum, and also with firm and fast conditions, I think this golf course is going to play a lot closer to the kind of 11, 12, even 14 under kind of scores we're used to seeing at the Barclays, which brings in a different kind of golfer. Firm and fast greens also mean that potentially we're going to see this turn into more of a putters could have a real advantage, because they reckon the greens, a lot of the greens are very undulating. Poa and Newer doesn't really sit favourably with a lot of players. They can't get their heads around it at all. There's lots of severe undulation on a lot of these greens. But at 7,500 yards for a par 70, which is only 7,000 yards, the greens are extremely big. So greens in regulation is a real, or big good numbers, is a real possibility for some very, very good and strong putters. So for me, I can kind of see it being slightly putting orientated over ball striking this week, purely because of the speed of the greens, but also because of the size of the greens. Now, that takes me to the following 4 players this week. Guys I really fancy. Don't forget, there's 2 more events also in terms of the President's Cup, both for the international team and the American team. And with big points available, we could see some serious changes in the top 10 for both especially for the US team. I'm going for the number 1 pick with 13, 14, 15 under the likely target. If it was 19, 20 plus, forget about it. But I can't ignore this week's predictor model, number 1, Jim Furyk, 1 3/4 points each way at 40 to 1 with Sky Bet. Furyk is playing some great golf at the moment, was leading 2 after rounds 2 and 3 at Firestone, which is 7,000 plus 7,400 yard par 70. We all know he loves a par 70. He's a winner already in 2015. Don't forget that was a monkey that he got off his back this season. And where the major championships were played on booming par 72s and courses he couldn't get anywhere near, the Fedex Cup this year with this par 70. Also with a short par 71 at Conway Farms, where he's finished 3rd in the past, and also with Eastlake being a par 70 technical, right up his street this year, the FedEx Cup playoffs. He's currently sitting in 18th in the FedEx Cup, so a win this week, or even a top 2 or 3, really gets him into the mix for the overall title. So Jim Furyk, 1 3/4 points each way, 40 to 1 with Sky Bet. He has a habit of winning upstate. Next up, a guy that really loves the Barclays. He has a good reason to go well this week. He's only 26th in the FedEx Cup and 9th in the President Cup standings. Loves the Barclays, loves playing near New York. Matt Kuchar, 1.5 points each way, 35 to 1 with Bet 365. Another guy that's highly motivated, Brandt Snedeker, 12th in the President's Cup standings. Finished 3rd here in 2011, what am I talking about? A great putter like Kuchar, who finished 2nd. Brandt Snedeker, 1.5 points each way at 40 to 1 with Paddy Power. That's 6 places each way. And finally, a little bit more left field, but a guy that has won at Congressional in upstate US. You always get the feeling with this guy that majors are way out of his comfort zone, but World Golf Championships, the Players' Championship this year, he can mix it. Bill Haas, 3/4 of a point each way at 66 to 1 on Haas. So that's Haas, Snedeker, Furyk, and also Matt Kuchar. Hello and welcome to this week's Golf Betting System audiocast. It's Steve Bamford as ever at the helm. A very, very intense part of the golfing season right now. The Deutsche Bank finished last night. Chris Kirk coming up with a career-defining victory, a real step up in class. 150 to 1 Kirk was. Reminded me very much of Charlie Hoffman back in 2010. Hoffman at 150 to 1. I think he was 125 to 1. Kirk had very little form coming into the event, but scrambled his way around. 2 eagles, got the job done. 36 holes with his old mate Rory McIlroy from amateur days. And he just got so much momentum. He outplayed McIlroy. Absolutely fabulous performance. Now, will that get him into the American Ryder Cup team? Interestingly enough, over here in Europe, the 3 captains' picks from Paul McGinley were announced at lunchtime. So Luke Donald has missed out. Lee Westwood, Stephen Gallagher, who totally justifies his pick. And also Ian Poulter, the 3 captains' picks. Now, as I sit here now recording the show, we won't know over here in the UK, and the States won't know until 7 p.m. Eastern Time, who Tom Watson's going for. But the clever money and all of the experts are pretty much sure that the 3 picks over in the States are going to be Keegan Bradley, who's been pretty much assured of his pick since he did some recce work with Tom Watson before the Open Championship up at Glen Eagles. Hunter Mahan, who obviously delivered for us at 50 to 1 week before last at Ridgewood, and they think Webb Simpson. Bill Haas made a late charge, and obviously now Chris Kirk right in the mix. But you get the feeling that Watson's going to go with the class and the experience of Webb Simpson this week. So, where are we? Well, European Tour, another fantastic tournament this week. We've got the Amiga European Masters, which is always played up at Kran over there in Switzerland. A very decent field again this week. So Paul Williams has pulled together his predictor model, which included Henny Otto last week. A big price. He was second in the European Tour predictor model last week that Paul published. Paul didn't go with him. He's kicking himself something rotten. But Otto delivered last week over in Turin. We've also got the BMW Championship, the 3rd leg of the Fedex Cup series. That's going to a new course this year, Cherry Hills Country Club, which they're playing over in Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. Altitude golf, an interesting test, very, very classical in its nature. It's hosted 5 major championships, and no competitor has ever shot a lower score than 10 under around there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week over in Cherry Hills Country Club. But I'm going to crack on quickly with Paul Williams. As I always say, golf betting system or golf betting tips into your search engine, you will find us. I'll take you through the top 5 of this week's published model that Paul's pulled together. Jamie Donaldson, the Ryder Cupper, is available at 14 to 1 with 888 Sport. He is slight favourite this week. 4 is Tommy Fleetwood, who's starting to show a little bit of form, 45 to 1 with Bet365. 3, the South African, who was around about the lead for about 2.5 rounds last week in Turin. Darren Fitchart, 125 to 1 with Sky Bet. That's very eye-catching. Miguel Angel Jimenez is the number 2 pick at 22 to 1 with Coral. And number 1 is again another Ryder Cupper, Thomas Bjorn, 16 to 1 with 888 Sport. So that's Bjorn, Jimenez, Fitchard, Fleetwood and Donaldson. If you want, I'll take you through the top 10. Carlson's at 6, Henny Otto's at 7, Prom Miserat at 8, 300 to 1. 9 is Rickard Karlberg at 80 to 1. And 10 is Danny Willett with 28 to 1. Supposedly carrying a bit of a bad back is Mr. Willett. So, let me take you through Paul's tips. Cron, a really tight golf course, tree line, classical in its nature, played at altitude obviously up in the Swiss Alps. tiny bent Poa greens. And there seems that there are a couple of ways that you can win this golf tournament. You can either be high GIR and grind your way around there, or you can be very flagrant with your approach shots, and basically the short game gets the job done. I mean, if you're looking for players that have done it the GIR way, Elds in 2003, Dredge 2006, Naren 09, Bjorn 2011, Richie Ramsey 2012. And then if you're looking at players that didn't hit lots of greens but had a razor sharp short game, Robert Carlson in 02, Donald in 2004, Brett Rumford 07 and Jimenez 2010. So there you go. Now, it looks like that the build-up over in Switzerland has been very wet. So Paul is starting to go towards the greens in regulation monsters to get the job done this week. He thinks that greens in regulation is going to be far more key than putting this week. Soft conditions, and it looks like it could actually rain during the tournament. Course experience is important, but Paul is looking for guys that have experience and deliver on tight classical golf courses with rough that could be quite punishing. So, makes sense. Richie Ramsey, 1.5 points each way at 40 to 1 with Betfair. Ramsey won here 2 years ago, and it was interesting that Ramsey had a complete hiatus of form, and then the tournament before here at Cran he got a top 5, and then he came and he won the tournament, and that's exactly what he's done this year. He's obviously top 5 over in Turin this week. He loves the golf course, and his tee to green game is getting back to where we know it can be. If the putter warms again, is warm this week, expect Richie Ramsey, 1.5 points each way at 40 to 1 with Betfair to go extremely well. Another Cran expert is Miguel Angel Jimenez, and Paul has gone 2 points each way at 22 to 1 with Betfred. Now I'm going to quickly highlight this. Betfred have come up with a brand new promotion. It's very interesting. You can double the odds on your first bet, and then you get a free £25 match bet. A very strong double promotion, that one. So that effectively means that you could get 44 to 1 this week on Miguel Angel Jimenez, an absolute Cran expert that hasn't been showing a great deal of form recently. I think he's mixed up between the European Tour and the Seniors Tour, but we know for a fact that he plays this course absolutely brilliantly, and I wouldn't be surprised if he'd just like to throw a little one in the ribs of Paul McGinley to say, hey, I could have been in that Ryder Cup team. So Miguel Angel Jimenez, 2 points each way at 22 to 1 with Betfred. Then we've got Ross Fisher, a point each way at 40 to 1 with Bet365. Fairly obvious with Fisher. Again, high quality player. Greens in regulation monster. Showed real form last week in Turin. If the putter is again warmish, he should contend. And then two other longer tips for Paul. Soren Kjeldsen, 0.5 point each way, 80 to 1 with Betfred. I know that Paul was going to pick Kjeldsen, but he had a stomach bug, which meant he actually pulled out of the event at Turin last week. But Kjeldsen tends to telegraph when he's going to get a victory, and that comes off of the run of some decent form, and he's playing well at the moment, is Kjeldsen, a high-class player in his prime. And Darren Fitchart, 0.5 point each way, again 125 to 1 with Betfred. So Fitchart, 0.5 point each way at 125 to 1. Another 0.5 point each way, 80 to 1. Soren Kjeldsen with Betfred. We've got Ross Fisher, a point each way at 40 to 1 with Bet365. The Mechanic, 2 points each way at 22 to 1 with Betfred. And Richie Ramsey, 1.5 points each way at 40 to 1 with Betfair. Full commentary of the Omega European Masters available at Golf Betting System. Okay, let's quickly hop across to Denver for the BMW Championship. It's organised by the Western Golf Association. This tournament tends to be Illinois, Wisconsin, sometimes goes across to St. Louis. But this year, they've completely thrown that all out the window. They've gone across to Colorado, which almost, I don't know, you can kind of classify it almost as West Coast. We can certainly classify it as altitude. And some of the images of the course, you know, you can see the Rockies in the background. A mile up, it really is going to affect how the ball, the distance the ball travels and reacts in the low humidity environment up there. Top 5 of this week's predictor model for me, I'm going Zach Johnson 50 to 1 with Bet365. at 5, defending champion. 4, Adam Scott, 14 to 1 with Coral. 3, Matt Kuchar, 25 to 1 with Ladbrokes. I don't know how Matt's going to play this week. The funeral of his caddy's wife was today, so Bill, he won't have played much around the golf course. Is his mind going to be there? Who knows? 2, Rory McIlroy, 5 to 1 with Stan James, and number 1, Jim Furyk, 28 to 1 with William Hill. Be warned with that price, 28 to 1 with William Hill. That is 4 places each way. Coral and William Hill have gone 4 places each way because there's only 70 playing. All of the other bookmakers have gone 50 to 1, and I know that 28 to 1 is still available if you're very, very quick with Boyle Sports. So you probably won't be surprised to hear that I'm actually going for the guys that are ranked number 1 and number 5 in this week's predictor model. Jim Furyk, 1.5 points each way at 28 to 1 with Boyle Sports. Yes, Jim doesn't win enough. Yes, people call Jim a bottler, which I think is unfair. Yes, Jim could win or hasn't won since 2010 at Eastlake. Fact of the matter is, Jim Furyk is having the season of his life. I think a win will come, can come, but it has to come the right way. When Jim's leading a golf tournament, he doesn't get the job done. That's not the way he's going to win. But if he can come from 2 or 3 off the lead on a Sunday, I can see Jim nicking a tournament. And this tournament is right up his alley. He's a great bent power, a newer putter. These greens are bent power. The greens here are extremely small. The course, it tilt, fairways that tilt. There's a lot of undulations. The fact that it's being played at 5,300 feet above sea level means that driving distance is going to be pretty much irrelevant. They reckon the course is fairly damp early doors, but there's no rain forecast through the whole of this week and across Thursday and Friday. It's going to get firm, it's going to get fast. David Duval, who lives in Denver, says that the longer hitters could struggle. It could all be about accuracy off the tee. We know for a fact that the fairways are fairly broad, but the rough is up. So the tilting fairways is going to mean a lot of balls are going to trundle into rough that's going to be 3.5, 3 3/4 inches in length. And the greens are small, so effectively you want to be coming from the short stuff. I think Furyk's got an absolutely fantastic chance. Next up, another player I've been umming and ahhing whether to tip him over recent weeks and months, but I'm pressing the go button. It looks like he's going to get a captain's pick, but I'm not so sure that that's going to put Webb Simpson off this week. A point each way at 45 to 1 with Bet Victor. Simpson, on the PGA Tour, Ryan Moore plays altitude golf extremely well. Phil Mickelson can play it well. He won here the 1990 US Amateur, I believe. I could have got that wrong. 98? I don't know. I can't remember. No, 1990, I believe. But Webb Simpson, when it comes to altitude golf, absolutely fantastic across all of those desert courses and also Old White TPC. He's fabulous. Bent power, he can putt on that kind of stuff. He did well a few years ago at Riviera. That's the kind of course that suits here. I looked into the most recent tournament here was 1985 PGA Championship, run by a guy called Hubert Green. Don't know a lot about him, but if you look at his history, he did very well at PGA West where he won. Played very, very well at Harbour Town where he won. He also won at Deer Run. So those kind of quirky courses, that's where Green got the job done. Simpson and Furyk are absolutely perfect in my mind. And that takes me to the defending champion, Zach Johnson, a point each way at 50 to 1. Bet 51's a big price with Bet365. I think Zach Johnson could again go well. Plays well at altitude, lots of top 10s, tops 12s. Has played well at PGA West as recently as this year. But again, a par 70 monster. Can putt well on bent power surfaces. Links in well with a lot of those courses that I've mentioned. I think players traditionally do well at the BMW Championship. Also have a good record at Muirfield, which Simpson has, Furyk has, Zach Johnson has. You can see where I'm heading with this. Zach Johnson, a point each way at 50 to 1. I've got 45 seconds to go. I'm going for the German, Martin Keimer, a point each way at 50 to 1 with Betfair Sportsbook. I think Keimer, US Open, Pinehurst, it was quirky, the fairways were tilting, lots of undulations. He plays well at altitude, has won the Nedbank Challenge, has played well out in South Africa, played well at Crans. So I think he also loves Poa Greens. He's got 3 wins on the European Tour on the Ben Poa Greens. So Martin Keimer, a point each way at 50 to 1 with Betfair Sportsbook. And I'm finishing 3/4 of a point each way at 80 to 1 on Ernie Els. You've heard it all here. Thank you and goodbye.